Okay, so I'm lucky enough to introduce our speaker tonight, who's an excellent entrepreneur and a very sweet woman. I got to know her over dinner tonight. But she has a business that spans not only in the U.S., but also in Thailand, and at one point, Cambodia. That's right. So she graduated from BYU, and she studied youth leadership and communications, but then she came here to Utah State for her master's program that included having a marketing emphasis. Ellen says that she cheers for the winning team. She's a fan of both schools, but she cheers for the winning team when they play. So this season in football, that would be us. And she works for an excellent business with her business partner and neighbor, Rainey. And they're good friends, and they continue to country hop and grow their business. And so please give a warm welcome to Ellen Clark.
Well, thank you for that auspicious introduction. Is this mic kind of weird, or would you rather have the other one? Works? Okay. I haven't even figured out how to use this. That is not how.
It's the arrow on the right.
There we go. As was mentioned, my name is Ellen Clark. I'm in the fly fishing business. And before we start about fly fishing, I want to just give a big holler out for the USU basketball team. Yeah. Let's just hope the Jazz can do as well tonight. I feel like I've come full circle because when I was a graduate student here at Utah State, I actually worked in this building. And that was before any of you were born, so don't worry about it. My corporate office is here in Logan, Utah, and as was mentioned, my manufacturing facility is in Thailand. How many of you have ever fished? Wow. Now, how many of you are fly fished? Oh, meet me after. Wonderful. That's good to know. Love it? Okay, good. Okay, this is the name of our company. It's called Rainey's. And fly fishing, there's kind of a, we are the only two women. My business partner is a woman. Her name is Rainey Riding. And she is, oh, this is better.
Yeah, we're going to need that one. That's all right.
No problem. Excuse me while I dress down.
There you go.
Hang on. Sounds a little better, doesn't it? Here you go. My business partner's name is Rainey Riding, and she is from Roosevelt, Utah. And she's a pretty amazing woman, but she started this business back in 1971, and I joined her in 1989. And I didn't fly fish before I knew her, but once I got to know her, then I became an avid fly fisher person as well. And basically the difference between bait fishing and fly fishing is we have a saying in the industry where it says, if you bait fish, the fish catch you. If you fly fish, you catch the fish. Because in fly fishing, you have to know a lot about the entomology of what the fish eat to try to duplicate what their diet is. And this is Rainey. Obviously, she's gotten thinner and I've gotten thicker. But we manufacture flies for fly fishing with our corporate office here in Logan, Utah. It's across the street from KVNU Radio. If you know where that is, it's just across the street from KVNU Radio on your way out of town to Tremont. And we also have our manufacturing facility in Thailand. Just so you know, the reason we're dressed alike is because we're doing a concert that night where she's the choral conductor and I lip sync tenor. I want to tell you a little bit about Rainey because she really is the story behind our success. Rainey was actually born to a family of 5 children, and she started fishing with flies at the age of 5. She used a spin cast rod. This is not a picture of her and her grandfather. I just found it on the web. But she fished with flies when she was 5 years old and caught her first fish on a fly. And then she learned how to tie flies shortly after she was married. What happened, and I'm not able to see the slides before here. I apologize. What happened is Rainey Riding had gotten married just before she turned 19 years old, and then they lived in Vernal, Utah. And if you're in Vernal out there, then welcome. We love Vernal. But she was working for an adjunct professor in Vernal, Utah, and he was teaching a fly tying class. And his name is, here I've done it again. Sorry, his name is Art Jones. In fact, I just saw him by accident the other day. And this was taken just a few years ago, but when she was 19 years old, she was his secretary in Vernal, Utah. And he was teaching an extension course for Utah State University on how to tie flies. And he called her at home and he said, Rainey, didn't you get my memo? Get into the office. And so she ran into the office and he said, didn't you get my memo? There's too many guys signed up for this fly tying class tonight. And you were supposed to call and cancel half the class. Well, now it's too late. They're already en route to come to Vernal, probably mostly from Salt Lake City. And so you can either cancel half the class, which is too late, or you can learn how to tie flies. So she had a half an hour of fly tying instruction, and she taught half the class. And that's how she got into fly tying. And this is the man that taught her how to tie flies. And this is her at her fly tying bench back in Logan, Utah, back in the early 90s. And she is the mother of 4 children and 8 grandchildren now. And she almost completed her degree here in choral conducting. So her first love is fishing, her second love is choral conducting, and she's an amazing conductor. And of course, her family is first. But so she started teaching half the class in Vernal, Utah. And then while she was there, she loved it so much it became a hobby. Well, some time had passed, and her husband said, Rainey, this is a very expensive hobby. And I guess she had a chest full of fly tying materials, and he kicked it and said, hey, I want you to total up the value of what you spent on this hobby of yours. And I guess for a newly married couple, it was a substantial amount of money for a hobby. And so he said, why don't you start trying to make money at this hobby? And so she started tying flies for people. And a doctor gave her her first $20 bill. And she looked at it and she said, you mean I can make money at this hobby? And from that point on, she became a commercial fly tyer. This is Rainey, just actually last year in Thailand. This is our accounting manager. And this is her in Thailand with what we call our Thai family. And this is just her with some of the kids that we saw. We were there when they were born in Thailand, because we've been there in Thailand for 20 years this week. Actually, on Friday, we will have been in Thailand for 20 years, since 1999. And just briefly about my story, I was born in Idaho to a family of 9 children. And the reason I put this slide up is I'm on the tricycle, and evidently it was not mine. But I have 6 brothers. Guess who my dad took fishing? Not the girls. Guess who fishes now? Not the boys. And I have to show this slide because it kind of runs in the blood. My father is an entrepreneur, and he claims that he invented the first snowmobile. And so this is a picture of my dad when he's 18 years old in Afton, Wyoming. And so from there, I graduated, as was mentioned, from BYU and also from Utah State University with a marketing emphasis. Then I worked for over 14 years for the local cable TV company. I was working in this building when I was hired by the cable TV company to design their logo. And those were in the days before graphic design on computers. I wrote my thesis on the computer. That's how old I am. This just shows me in Thailand with our accounting manager and our production manager. This is one of the many festivals that we have there. And this is just our key staff in Thailand. And this is how it all began, is that Rainey was newly divorced. She moved to Logan, Utah with 4 kids, and she was my across-the-street neighbor. Well, I had seen her before because I'd seen her in church, but I never really introduced myself until about a year later. And then I took some produce from our garden, knocked on her door, introduced myself, And I found out through that conversation that she liked to play racquetball. And I thought, oh, I love to play racquetball. Any racquetball players in here still? It's probably an old sport. But so we began playing racquetball together a lot. But at the time I met her, she was working 2 jobs. She was working at 2 o'clock in the morning, throwing bulk mail at the post office, and then tying flies commercially at night from her home. And then what happened is she said that, you know what, I really need to have a 3rd job because I need to support my family and I don't want to be, on the street with my 4 kids. And I said, well, I work for the cable TV company. Why don't you come in for an interview? So she came in for an interview, and I hired her as our dispatcher. So she was working 3 jobs with 4 kids. And so subsequently, over the years, since I was her friend, I helped her with her business. Usually, I helped her in cooking the meals for her kids and doing the laundry while she was tying flies, because she would go to work at the cable company at 9 o'clock in the morning, tie flies at night, sleep for 2 hours, and go to the post office and throw bulk mail. And then that happened for a couple of years, and I finally said, Rainey, what do you want to do with your life? This is crazy, what you're doing. She said, I really want a job where I can be home when my kids come home from school. And I said, great. How about if I remarket you? And I encouraged her to put in her resignation at our company. And she did after a couple of weeks of encouragement. And then my boss came to me and he said, Ellen, do you think Rainey can do this? I said, I know she can do it. Because the one thing you can't teach, especially in marketing, is a good reputation. And she already had that good reputation. And so that's something I couldn't invent for her. And so I said, yeah, I know she can. And so she wrote the letter of resignation, handed it in to our boss. And that very day that she handed in her resignation, her youngest daughter said she was going to go live with her dad. And she thought, wow, what did I do this for? But because of that, then I went into business with her, and I became her financial backer. And so this is kind of the evolution of owning an international business. I became her financial backer, and I made a business plan, which is very important. I redesigned her logo, and you'll see some of them. And then we hit the road. We started going to trade shows throughout the continental United States. I sold my car, got an Explorer, got a trailer, and we trucked across the United States and back. When we'd get to Florida and back east, people knew who Rainey was. They knew the name, but they had no idea she was a woman. And their first expression was, I didn't know you're a woman. Oh, but I like your flies anyway. Because Rainey had invented her own patterns, her own fly patterns, and she'd become world-renowned already with just her cutting-edge patterns that she had made. And so we went through in all over the United States, and we were in 49 states. Guess which was the last state we got into? Utah. And of all the cities in Utah, guess which was the last city we got into? Logan. You have to realize we're 2 women in a very male-dominated industry, and I don't know what the problem is in Utah, but they didn't think that we could do it and that we knew what we were doing. But by then, Rainey was already very proficient as a fly fisher person, and I was getting there, and I was helping her teach classes on how to tie flies and how to do fly casting. But what we did is Rainey, she is the founder. She started it in 1971, and she is the genius behind the fly. She is the world's most famous female fly tyer to this day. And probably among all the famous top fly tyers, I'd put her in the top 10 to 25 in the world. But she's invented over 60 patterns of her own that are exclusive to us. Nobody else in the world ties those patterns. And again, she was divorced. She commercially tied flies. She worked 3 jobs. I'm just kind of going over this quickly, sorry. And then me, I have to show you that I do fish. I finally redesigned the logo, designed the marketing business plan, and helped grow the business, and I became the financial investor. But this is the evolution of the logo. When I first met Rainey across the street from me, her house had this on her house. This was her sign. It said, Rainey's Trout Flies. Now, if you're in the fly fishing business, and you know anything about fly fishing, what's limiting about this? Anybody know? It's only for trout. How many kinds of fish do we catch? Only trout? No, a lot. And plus, she'd invented quite a few time-saving tools. And so we changed it to Rainey's Flies and Supplies, and her logo here was Home of Precision, her slogan was Home of Precision Flies. Then we changed it to, once you've tried our products, you're hooked, because we had more than flies, we had materials, and we had tools. And then from that design, that was her most famous fly, was a mouse for bass fish. Then we changed it to look like this and called it Flies for Every Appetite. And then from there, it's a little bit too feminine for guys to wear on their hats. So we changed it to this. But we kept the slogan Flies for Every Appetite because we consider ourselves the smorgasbord of flies. Because we can catch any kind, we can invent a fly for any kind of fish. And then we now just use this a lot of times where we put on our hats and logos, and we've become known internationally by just the letter R, with the fish in the R. So that was the evolution of the logo. And then what we did is we ended up relocating to Thailand, but what happened before I got here is that I went into business with Rainey. We did that for a couple of years, and we hired quite a few Utah State University students to tie flies for us. We had about 24 kids tying flies for us commercially because Rainey couldn't do it by herself. Plus, we had opened up a retail fly shop on the south side of her home. We tore down her garage, built a fly shop there, and we had people tying flies for us. Well, all these kids decided to go to graduate school, go to medical school, go on these missions, and move away, and pretty soon we didn't have any tyers tying flies for us. So we thought, what do we do? And so we had a friend that lived in Chiang Mai, Thailand. He was actually from Arizona, but he's from Chiang Mai, Thailand, and he contacted us and he said, hey, I happen to have a fly tying factory in Chiang Mai, Thailand. How about we tie your flies for you? We thought, oh, no, we don't want to do a sweatshop. He goes, oh, it's not a sweatshop. Chiang Mai's nice. We thought, no, it needs to be American made. But we're in a point where, hi, Chuckets, it's nice to see you. We were at a point where we knew that we didn't have a choice because we actually gave away free fly tying classes and we still couldn't get them to stick around and tie flies for us. Plus, when you tie flies, you're tying piece rate, and it's hard to be disciplined. And so this friend said, hey, my director at my factory in Chiang Mai, Thailand is coming to America. He's American, but he's married to a Filipino woman. And how about you come to Oregon the same time he's here, and you teach him how to tie your patterns. He'll go back to the factory in Thailand and tie your flies for you. So Rainey and I thought, okay. So we drove to Oregon in my little new Explorer. And when we were there, his managing director of the fly tying company in Thailand came. We sat down in the boardroom, put up the vices, and Rainey taught him how to tie one of her flies. She was at the vise with him, and I was across the room. 30 seconds into that training, Rainey and I made eye contact, and we knew we were in trouble. There's no way he could be the instructor on how to tie her patterns. And we said, how about we go to Thailand on our own dime? When we get there, the day we arrive in Thailand, you hire a couple, maybe a dozen, 2 dozen people to tie flies, and they only tie our patterns and not yours. And so what we did is we put her son in the MTC to go on a mission to California, and we flew to Thailand the next day on our own dime. When we got there, there were a couple kids, and you'll see them later in here, tying flies that were the Rainey's team. But before I get to that point, I just have to tell one other quick story. This is a product called Float Foam. One time when I was still working at the cable company, I was a marketing manager there. We had a meeting in Park City, Utah. And Rainey said, I'd really like to go with you, and while you're in meetings, I'll stay in the the room, and I'm going to call all these manufacturers throughout the continental United States because I have a product I have in my head that I want to make so that when you tie flies, it makes it really buoyant and it's high on the water. It's a foam product, and it has to be extruded. So she went to the phone, and she called 99 different manufacturers throughout the continental United States to explain what kind of a property she wanted of this foam that needed to be extruded so we could cut it, tie it on a hook, and make it flow high on the water. She got turned down 99 times, and she was so discouraged when I got back to the room. And the next day, she was still calling, and finally on her 100th call, she called the first company back. This time, a woman answered. It was the same, it was the first company she called and the last company called. And the woman said, I will give you a chance. And then they made this product that we're world famous for. It's called float foam. Doesn't look like much, but it has a skin and it's buoyant, and you can tie flies and keep it high on the water. But she was tenacious enough that she finally called back and got somebody to believe in us. And we have this product that is used all over the world now for fly tying to keep the flies floating high in the water. But unfortunately, guys, I'm sorry, but it was a woman that took a chance on us. Subsequently, we sent her a dozen roses as a thank you, because that was kind of what gave us the belief that we can do it. So back to Thailand. So now we're in Thailand. I need to get my little funny clicker here. I'm sorry, I can't see what's on my slides ahead of time. So we go to Thailand. Any of you been to Thailand? Who's been to Thailand? I know this little group here it's great, isn't it? So, again, the reason we're dressed alike is because I'm in a choir. We're doing a performance this night. Rainey is the production director, and she makes sure that the quality of the flies is perfect. And I'm the business and marketing director. Guess what the most asked question is to us, to me and Rainey? He gets the prize tonight. Do you fish? Now, if as a guy, would you ask that? Just asking. And we just say, what a stupid question. Because of course we fish. And this is a sailfish, but I just want to show you a fly. This is called Rainey's Ocean Candy. Rainey invented it. I caught a 350-pound marlin on this fly. And that's a fly. The head is made of foam. So this is Rainey on the Provo River catching a beautiful trout, and that's me in Costa Rica catching a roosterfish. That is a real fish. And then I just want to give you a little mini class on what fly fishing is. We just call it heaven on earth. Because it's a reel, it's not a rod, and it's usually a catch and release. If you keep your fish when you fly fish, you don't tell people you're keeping it, because we tend to be a catch and release sport. And we do all kinds of fishing. We do warm water and fresh water. And we try to imitate the fish's diet. You'll see things like a bumblebee, a dragonfly, a frog, a mouse, a snail, an ant. So those are kinds of things that the fish eat, especially trout. The fly up in the upper left-hand corner, which I have samples of here, is Rainey's Grand Hopper. Rainey invented that. That's the most famous hopper pattern in the world. And saltwater, you have a sailfish here. Those are the Seychelles. We saltwater type of flies. Saltwater flies tend to be more of an attractor pattern. And let me just show you another saltwater fly. Because people will say, well, how big are your flies and how much do your tires make? Believe it or not, this is a fly. That's to catch sailfish. It's called the Terminator. And yes, I did name it. And we also do materials. There's some float foam down here at the bottom. Now we have these companies. We have Rainey's Flies and Supplies here in Logan, Utah. That is our wholesale company. We have Rainey's International, which is our distribution company. And we have Streamworks Thailand, which we opened up in 1999, which is still open. And we had Flyworks Cambodia between 2013 and 2016. And those are our manufacturing companies. I live in Thailand and have a home and a dog there in Thailand. And, but I'm not in Cambodia anymore. And we'll tell you a little bit about that. We manufacture two types of flies. One is the Rainey's premium brand. We say that we're the Lamborghini in a Toyota world because our flies are the most expensive flies in the world. But it's because they're the best quality. When we had a retail fly shop here in Logan, Utah, we had one of our customers come into our store, slap down a fly, and he said, "I want a new fly. This one fell apart." We said, sure, if a fly fell apart, we'll be happy to replace it. We'll give you two. And so we proceeded to give our customer some flies. And we said, by the way, how many fish did this one fly catch? No, really, how many fish did this one fly catch? 31. I thought, if you think you deserve another $1.99 fly, we'll give you two. If that's all it caught was 31 fish. But why do you think we have a grade B brand, which is Pioneer Flies? Remember, we're manufacturing it. People are learning how to tie it. Why would you have a grade B? Because this is your learning curve market, and so you're tying the same fly, but maybe you're using an inferior product and probably an inferior tire, and so you're selling it to a different market. But we don't want it to have the Rainey label. And plus, in the fly fishing business, 25% of all the fly patterns in the world are duplicated by all of us. 75% of our fly offering is exclusive to us. But that's one of the reasons we call them pioneers, because they were the first flies that we all made, and plus it's our grade B brand. This is our warehouse here in Logan, Utah. This is the Rainey side is on the left, and the Rainey's International is on the right. This is inside our corporate office here, our warehouse. This is Jesse, Rainey's son, on the right. That's a carp that he caught close to Logan, Utah, and our office manager. And then we also do catalogs every 2 years. And we usually, again, it's always flies for every appetite. This is back in, I don't remember what year this was. But over here, you'll see that we have over 200-page full-page catalog, plus we're on the internet. And we have over 3,000 different fly patterns. And we have over 10,000 SKUs. If those of you in marketing know what a SKU is, a UPC code. And this is our catalog for this year. And just all the different fly skins, and on the back cover, there's different fly skins. We have over 140 different fly innovators. Rainey is not the only innovator that's in our catalog. We have innovators from all over the world. Every 2 years, in between catalogs, we do addendums. Whenever you are in this kind of an industry, you have to publish or perish, or you have to invent, or they don't buy from you anymore. We also do annual fly tackle dealer shows throughout the United States. This year it's back in Denver. It's been in Florida. And also, these are some famous guys in the industry. In fact, unfortunately, the guy on the right just passed away. And we also do international trade shows. We've been in London and Poland and Belgium and Czech Republic. And this year we're back in Brussels, Belgium. And next year it's back in Prague. And so when we're in Thailand, we also do the European trade shows throughout the different parts of the world. And this just shows the FTech show started back in 1982, and in 2020 we'll be back in Prague. So that's kind of a little side benefit of the business, because whenever we go to these countries, we try to stay a week either before or after, just to kind of visit the country, which is nice. We also have sales reps throughout the continental United States. And they go into the fly shops and they sell our flies and take orders. We don't do it, they do it. And then we pay them a commission. This guy up here, he is over the Bass Pro and the Cabela's accounts, which you probably have heard about. Let's see. And we have a worldwide distribution. The ones that are in bold are our biggest countries: Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Germany, the Netherlands. We're actually all over the world. So we sell flies all over the world. And a lot of these Sometimes we'll do a drop ship from the country, so we'll ship them straight from Thailand to the country. Sometimes we ship them here from Logan, Utah. And the innovators, like was said, we have over 140, and they're from all over the world. They give us their fly patterns, and we tie them to their specifications, their recipe, and we pay them a royalty. So we're paying a commission to the sales reps, and we're paying a royalty to the innovators. Let's see. Brief history of our overseas operations. I mentioned we were in Thailand. We were also in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. How many of you have been to Cambodia? I know there's one of you here that speaks Khmer. And so we were in Chiang Mai and in Cambodia at the same time. And in Thailand, it was owned and operated by a company called McKinsey Fly when Rainey and I very first went over. When we went over, we taught the staff how to tie our patterns. 4 months later, they called us and said, "Hey, Rainey and Ellen, our director's wife decides she wants to move back to the Philippines. The ladies loved you so much. Can you both come back, be our director, and increase the staff to 175 tires?" And we thought, you gotta be crazy. Move to Thailand? And so we did the thing that some of us do. We prayed about it and did our research, and it became very apparent that we were supposed to move our lives to Thailand. And I was okay with that, because I like adventure. Rainey's parents, not so much. They said, "Are you crazy? You have 4 kids." She goes, "Yeah, but they're all emancipated." They said, "Absolutely not." But we went over, and she closed down she had a choral choir group here in Cache Valley, and so we moved our lives to Thailand in 1999. But we worked for a company called McKinsey Fly. A year later, that company sold to 2 guys that had just retired in their 40s from Microsoft. And for some reason, they had all these millions of dollars and wanted to own a fly tying company. So they bought McKinsey Fly. They came to Thailand, and then they changed the name to Streamworks. At the same time, it still was not a registered company in Thailand. So they were paying under the table money to get goods in and out, which is the kind of business I don't like to do. And so we ran it for them, and then a year later, they sold to 3M. Did you know 3M was in the fly business? The name of that company for 3M is called Scientific Angler. And so we became 3M employees, and 3M said, "Hey, we still want to grow the factory to 175 employees because we intend to get the Walmart account. And so would you ladies stay on as directors?" And I'm doing the finances, raising my hand basically and saying, "You're crazy. It doesn't fit the 3M model for your margins of profit." But they bought the company anyway, and so we became 3M employees. And then a year later, 3M came to us and said, "You know what? We changed our minds. We don't want to own a fly tying company anymore. We like just making fly line. Would you ladies buy the company from us?" 2 girls from Logan, Utah, buying a company from a Fortune 500 company. That was quite a ride. We had a good corporate attorney, however, here in Logan, Utah. So in 2002, we purchased the company from 3M. And 3M became our customer instead of our employer. And that went on for some years until they got completely out of the business. These are the Rainey team that they hired when we first got to Thailand. This is the director on the left that didn't really know how to tie flies. But this was our first Rainey's team. They worked for this company, but they only tied Rainey's patterns. And this was our first factory. This was our first team. And the person standing in front of Rainey is actually a guy. He just likes to be a girl. But anyway, so this is a real fun team. The person on the far right on the front still works for us today. You know what they are. They're called Gatuis. And so this was Rainey when we very first got there. The girl that's next to Rainey on her right, on my left, is now 50 years old. She has a 7th grade education, and now she is the highest paid employee at the factory. But this is when we very first got to Thailand. And of course, we had a translator. We didn't speak Thai. And this is, our translator is the one in the navy blue. And these are pretty scrappy looking flight tying tables. They got a lot better after we took over. And this just kind of shows you how they eat communally. And this gal that's on the left, she's still our maid today. And anyway, this, obviously I'm a very tall person anyway, but being in Thailand, it's kind of very obvious. And so I was made fun of a lot. And that's Jim measuring how tall I am. And there's just Rainy when we moved to Thailand. But in the year 2000, we located to a new factory, which is a 5-story factory. We had to end up building the carport and all the stuff around it. And it's a very nice place to work. I mean, there was a school just down the road from us. And that was our team when we were 3M employees. And this was our management staff at the time of 3M. And then this is our staff today. And some people say, well, what do you live like in Thailand? So I just threw my houses in here as a slide to show you the 3 different houses we've lived in Thailand. It's comfortable. It's very comfortable. So these are just the 3 different homes we've lived in. And also this is, I just put this slide up here for in Thailand you have family and friends. Those are my dogs. And this little family down here lives in my home when I'm gone. She's our production manager and he is our phone manager. They're married, obviously. And she makes double his salary. This is Streamworks, and we purchased it from 3M in 2002. And in the year 2013, we opened up an additional flight tying company factory in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh. The reason being is because we had local competition. To this day, we have 7 fly tying factories in Chiang Mai, Thailand. We're one of 7. Well, what happens when you have competition like that, if you own a business? Your employees can have options. And also, we have an aging staff. I say that our staff love us so much they don't ever want to quit. And so we have people that have been with us for 20 years that are still with us. And also, we wanted to grow the business. So we moved to Cambodia. We hired a general manager and accountant. And we started. And then this is just kind of just shows, this was our factory in Cambodia. In Phnom Penh, it was a very nice building. And this is just in Kamai. You can read that. There you go. And the name of our company in Cambodia was called Flyworks. We still wanted to keep the word works in there, so we kept it in there. And this is our staff in Cambodia. We're still in the middle of growing the staff. And what we did is we brought people, our managers from Thailand, to Cambodia to teach the staff, because it was too much for Rainey to teach. I'm teaching them how to do spreadsheets and marketing and business, and Rainey's teaching them how to actually make the product. And so we brought Jim over from Chiang Mai. Yes, she's very tiny. And this is our staff here. This was our management staff in Cambodia. Do you recognize him? This was our general manager and our accounting manager in Cambodia. Wonderful people. This was our shipping department. We had management, the stock department. Then we had to do the tire training, team leaders. I'm going to kind of skip through a lot of this, so apologize the quick slides. And then we would actually teach people how to tie flies, and they became so proficient that we'd let our employees teach the other employees. And so we had advanced tires teaching the other tires. Unfortunately, our foam shaper, this is our manager for the foam shaping on the right, and unfortunately he was killed not very long after this picture was taken. He was electrocuted in his home, not at our factory, but it's kind of a sad story because he was two weeks from being married. Wonderful guy, too. Those things happen. We also had quality control. The reason we have such premium flies is we go through more quality control step points than most of our competitors. And then prep and epoxy, and we do not ever let one employee tie a full fly. Why do you think that is, that we don't let them complete a fly if we're in a city where there's a lot of competition?
Because they'll leak their secrets.
Yeah, leak their secrets. And so our tires never complete a pattern. It goes to different departments for different stages of it. This is shipping to America. What happened is we got there in 2013. In 2016, I had to shut it down. And one of the reasons being is because it became hard to have integrity and make a profit. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? Let's just say that we were the only American registered company in Phnom Penh. None of the other businesses from America were registered. And so we were held to a flame, and in order to make a profit, it didn't happen. So we trucked all of our stuff back to Thailand. But some of our employees came with us from Cambodia. We did all the paperwork to get them back to be able to live with us in Thailand. All the guys behind Jum, the person in the middle, are from Cambodia, and they're standing in front of my home. And this is our current staff now in Thailand. That's our management staff. This is just working at the table. Just want you to know, sometimes we have VIPs visit. Do you recognize anybody? Okay. And I think we've got a crew coming in May as well again. So it's always fun to have them. And just so you should know where my loyalties lie, I had to put this slide in. This is just the management staff in Cambodia. So they got USU t-shirts. And in my opinion, the most difficult thing about tying a fly is holding their feet still. So, and Rainey's flies, the choice stops here. And that's the end of this. But I now want to give you my little business sense on what I have learned on how I feel that we have been successful in international business. And number one is you must have a business plan in writing, not just in your head. Must have a business plan that is trackable, that you can measure. So if you don't know computers and you're thinking of starting a business, learn them before you start a business, not during. Learn how to do the spreadsheets. Do your due diligence. Accountability, again, the spreadsheets, and be transparent to your business partner or partners. Don't go buy things or make decisions for your business that your partner or partners don't know about. You must have accountability or be transparent. This should be number one on my list, is you must have integrity, which is very difficult sometimes because you want to jump ahead. And you have to have tenacity. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's how many times you get up. And you have to have tenacity. And you need to identify what your weaknesses are and what your strengths are, and hire people that are better than you. I'm going to say that again. Hire people that are better than you. Do not think you know it all. We all have strengths. We all have weaknesses. Rainey's weaknesses are my strengths. My weaknesses are her strengths. And so hopefully, if you get a business partner or partners, you have that kind of a mix. And never, ever talk badly about your competitors on any level, because it will get back to you. It's never worth it. That's part of the integrity. Never talk badly about your competitors. And don't burn bridges. You never know. If you understand the concept of leverage, if you don't, go look it up under a business model. You just don't burn bridges, because you never know who you're going to need as a friend, whether it be in the government, in the company in which you live, or in your business. And you need to understand and practice the concept of leverage. Again, I just talked about that, but please try to understand what leverage is. If you don't know what it is, talk to me afterwards, because it's a 10-minute spiel. I said this before, hire people that are smarter than you, and you need to learn, live, and love their culture. If you plan on living in another country, learn to love it. Because if you ever, how many of you have lived in another country? Have any of you hated where you've lived? Touché. Well, okay, we have one exception, but I won't point him out, which is over there. But you need to learn to love where you live, because people can sense, how it is. And this is our motto in our business, and it should be good in your family, in your school, in your environment, everything with which you do. I'm going to end on this slide because you need to be firm, fair, and consistent, particularly if you have a staff of employees. I have a staff of employees here in Logan, Utah. I have a staff in Thailand, and I had one in Cambodia. So you need to know all about that kind of stuff on interacting and motivating a staff. Be fair, firm, and consistent in everything you do. Don't favor one employee over the other. I just want to end with this little slide because I love it. It's Rainey with some of the boys that were born when we were there, that are very dear. We consider them family. And, of course, with Rainey, the choice stops here. And that's the end. End. Thank you. This is the time when you get to put me on the spot and ask me questions. Anybody have any burning questions besides wondering what the Jazz are doing? Huh? Yes. Can you stand and...
So how do you produce, I mean, these are all tied, not by a machine, all by people?
The question was if these flies were all tied by machine and not by people. Yes, all by hand, 100%.
So how many do they produce?
How many do they produce in a day? Well, let me ask you, if you're making this in a day, or let me show you. This is a size 22 fly. Do you think they can make the same amount? This is a size 22 fly for a dry fly, and they probably do about 9 to 10 dozen of these in a day. On that one, they might make 4 pieces. So, depends. But we make sure that it evens out so they basically make the same amount of money a day. Was there a question back there? Go ahead.
Do you have any flies for like really big sharks?
Do we have flies for big sharks? I think a 350-pound marlin almost qualifies as a shark. But I have you know that on this fly called an ocean candy, some of the flies, even though we make them with foam and make them light, if you're a fly fisherman, you only have one back cast and one cast forward, so you can't sit there and false cast it out to a big fish. So yeah, we have flies for sharks. And unfortunately, I have caught shark on a fly as well. Yes? Do we still offer fly tying classes? No. When we had the retail shop, yes, absolutely, because they wanted customers to come in. Here, since it's a wholesale company, we actually don't want retail customers. Why do you think that is?
Don't create your own competition.
Come again?
Don't create your own competition.
No, it's not, but that's a good answer. We'll create their own competition. The reason is it's a onesie, twosie sale. We're selling in bulk. When we sell to Bass Pro, they're ordering like 250 dozen just in one shipment. And that's a small shipment. We ship about anywhere from 12 to 25,000 dozen from Thailand a month. And so, depends upon what pattern it is. In the back.
What's your advice on making a successful business plan?
Advice on making a successful business plan? Do well in your class here. Listen to your professors. They know what they're talking about.
Have you seen a dramatic decrease now that Amazon, just online direct-to-consumer, is taking over? And is the retail still part of your strategy? How are you guys navigating?
That's actually a good question. The question was if we've seen a decrease in our business because of online retail business or business. Actually, yes. I mean, I think it goes to show you even here in Cache Valley with the closing of some of our businesses here, like the Shopco type of businesses, one of the reasons is because online purchases have increased. The same happens here, but what we do when we have retail customers, we have a website and it tells them to go to the local fly shop, and if they can't find our fly in their shop, then they can. We do sell to retail customers, but it's not something that makes us money. We actually lose money because if I'm going to sell you $10 of flies and you just took up an hour and a half of my time because you have to tell me your fishing stories, then I've lost money. So we are thinking of branching out in different avenues, but we have some of our customers that do online, and we sell to our customers and we drop ship to their customers. Yes?
You two should do a reality show.
We should do a reality show. It has been an interesting ride. You know, two women in the fly fishing business, a very male-dominated industry, but it's been fun. Because we love the industry, we actually love to fish, and the people in our industry are just wonderful people, very gracious, and they've finally accepted us. But I do have to tell you, at the very beginning, I was ostracized because of my name, Ellen Clark. We went to these fly shows up in Montana and up into Canada, and people would go, "Oh, that's Ellen Clark." They would whisper behind my back, go, "Oh, that's Ellen Clark." And I thought, what is this? What's going on? Found out that there's a woman in my industry with my same name that was notorious for stealing husbands. You know, when their husbands were gone on trade shows or that, and I thought, oh, so actually for about 5 years I changed my name to Ellen Hanks, which was my mother's maiden name. I had business cards made up and everything, and so I went as Ellen Hanks for about 5 years until they realized I was not that Ellen Clark. Yes. Yes. Do I have any advice for women entering a male-dominated field? Number one, when you do that, you have to not only be better than they are, you have to be double better than the men are. You have to know what you're doing. With knowledge, there is power. And so get to know their world and learn it and be in it better than they've ever been. Because if you're going to be in a male-dominated industry, you better know what you're doing so that when you're talking about it, you come across as knowledgeable, or else you have no respect. But you have to be doubly better than they are.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
Yes, go ahead.
So you said you have like 3,000 patterns or something. So do you have a stock of all your patterns, or do you just make them special?
The question was, since we have so many SKUs, not just flies, do we have inventory of every pattern? We have a lot of inventory, but right now, because of the market, we try to tie to order. In our industry, we do what's called a pre-season order. Most of our customers, 90% of our customers, will order flies before November for the following fishing season. Right now, we are in the middle of delivering our first pre-season lot because the ice is melting. People are starting to go out and fly fish now, but most of the orders we're sending out the door are orders that our customers have ordered last year because they know that we have to have time to tie them. And in our industry, we use a lot of synthetic, but we also use a lot of animal product, like deer. Well, there's a harvest season for some animals, and so we have to have pre-season orders. Good question. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.